Hey guys, Quantum here, and in this video we're going to take the next step in Tanith's quest to do the invasions. Once you have access to the mountaintop area, through natural progression you'll hit the ancient snow valley ruins. I also have a walkthrough on how we got here as well if you need help. But once you have access to this, you can just run all the way around and access the next invasion point. I have tried this once, and the NPC is pretty cheap. He's using dual whips and they have like almost perfect reaction, so it's really hard to punish their attacks, and they dodge your attacks almost perfectly every time. He also has a lot of poise, so you can easily attack him, and then he can attack through your attacks, which makes it very difficult because you take a lot more damage from him than you will deal to him. And we are doing this at level 70. What I've opted to try this time around, I fought him once, and we got him down to like what 30-40% he healed, and then we got him down to about 50, and then we lost. So gonna try it again with this dual poison setup, since I'm a dex character, using the serpent bone blade and just putting poison on the Uchikatana. So we're not going to be doing a lot of damage with our hits, but the goal is to just poison him and then poison him again. So here is the spot, and then you can just invade. Hey guys, my apologies, but I have to redo the voiceover on this clip because there was some background noise that made it a little annoying to watch. So I'm just going to go over some basic tips to help beat this NPC. As mentioned earlier, I opted to go with a dual katana setup that is basically focused on poison. And what's nice is it does a very high amount of poison buildup when you swing or land hits with both katanas, because the serpent bone blade has a lot of poison buildup, and then when you infuse the Uchikatana with poison as well, you're doing a decent amount of poison buildup. So hitting them with both the katanas at once probably does like 50%. So it takes like 2 or 3 swings with the dual katanas in order to poison the opponent, which is very good. Now with this fight, what I noticed the first time I fought him was he will poise through or hyper armor through, whatever you want to call it, basically small and medium sized weapons from what it looks like. They will heal once, but only once in the fight. But the whips are very punishing because they do a decent amount of damage, and they're deceptively quick. There's a bit of a delay between the startup animation of them throwing the whip versus when the actual whip comes out for the hitbox. So this can make timing your rolls very difficult unless you actually adjust to the timing of the weapon. And there's a few times where I mess that up and I get hit because of it. You'll see it throughout the video. But there's one key strategy to beating this NPC, in my opinion, and that is either power stancing a weapon that can hit them twice. So this is why I'm utilizing this rolling L1. And what will happen is the opponent will do one of two things. The computer's very cheap, so it'll either dodge perfectly, like you just saw in that previous clip, or they'll attempt to attack you thinking that they can easily hit you out of your animation, because usually the computer times it perfectly where their attack will come out right before yours and either hit you out of your attack if you don't have hyper armor or enough poise to get through their whip, which is usually going to be the case. Or, like I mentioned, they're going to dodge it. So one of the two that they're going to do in order to perfectly defeat whatever setup you have. So the way to mitigate this is, like I mentioned, power stance 2 weapons. So you can see the L1 with the katanas here swings both the katana blades, and perfect example right there, the opponent thought they could do a follow-up whip attack, but my dual katana swing was able to hit them out of the startup animation of their attack. There's another example. So they don't get their attack off, they were in the middle of startup. The dual katana rolling L1 was able to knock them out of their attack. When I was doing just one-hand katana, they were able to still attack through my swing and still hit me. And the trade on that is not favorable for me at all. You will take more damage than you will dish out most likely, so it's definitely not worth trading in this instance. The second option is probably using a heavy weapon like an ultra great sword or a great axe. That should deal enough damage to disrupt the enemy's attack and not get hit by it and still dish out your attack. So that's probably the easiest way. Obviously I went for the dual katana because it's, in my opinion, a little bit more efficient because the poison whittles them down, as well as the dual katana still do decent damage, as well as knocking them out of their attack. So some quick strategies to beat this NPC. Hopefully it was helpful, and hopefully you can beat him. You do get a pretty sweet looking armor set that's actually good for defense to weight ratio, in my opinion. So it's definitely worth doing this fight. I actually think you have to do this fight to progress in the game. But there you can see the equipment that we get, and I'm really hyped to try this whip. Power stancing whips in Dark Souls 2 was really OP, and it looks like this game is kind of similar. So really excited to see that. But thanks for watching this fight. We'll continue on to the next clip. So sorry guys, I stopped the recording out of habit of after I completed something, so I'll have to do some editing. But yeah, we beat him. I was able to save the recent clip, so we do get his armor and his weapon, which is really cool. This is definitely something that we'll probably use, because the whips I was a huge fan of in Dark Souls 2. It was kind of broken and cheap, and they look pretty broken and cheap in this game too. But anyways, let's see what we get when we go back to Tanith.
I see that you stayed. This is your usual. Perhaps you are ready. Our Lord will no doubt welcome you. Yes. As it should now. I will transport you.
Oh, I actually want to go talk to the other guy, but okay, I guess we can teleport back.
May your visit be fruitful.
So sorry for moving through the loading screens here. At least it loads fast on PS5.
I have the reward from take it. Let us till we reach the miserable death that used. Well.
All right, so that's how you get those things. Next up, I guess we'll do this boss fight. So I'm just going to switch around my equipment, and then I'll re-record and merge the video with this one probably of this boss fight. Hey guys, this fight against Rykard, I guess, is pretty straightforward, but I thought I'd just give a couple of quick tips. So the first thing that you want to do, which I didn't do the first time I fought this boss when I come in here, you want to pick up the weapon, and you want to make sure that you have basically, I would say like 6 to 8 of the magic recovering flasks, or the FP recovering flasks. You don't really need too many health flasks, but there's 2 phases to this boss fight. This is the first phase. You can summon phantoms or use the mimic spirit ashes that'll mimic your setup, and basically have 2 people using these unique weapons. I think it's called the Serpent Hunter. But this is kind of similar to like the Yorm fight in Dark Souls 3, or the Flying Mantis that you fight in Demon Souls, where you have that unique Storm Ruler-like weapon. That's basically only good for this fight, but you need some kind of unique weapon to beat this boss, and this is it. So what I actually did was I picked up this weapon, I went back to the round table, upgraded it to +4 because I can buy those Somber Stones from the merchant, and I have videos on where to find the bell bearings to buy those stones with. So you do a little bit of extra damage, and then if you can summon people, or like I said, use the Mimic tier to summon an ash that mimics your setup, you can speed this fight along. So obviously I have some phantoms with me that just help speed it along. But it isn't too bad, because the first phase of this fight, you should just be able to utilize the R2. You don't need to waste any FP. Just utilizing R2 and kind of just staying on top of the boss's attacks, dodging them when needed, will allow you to basically cut down the boss fairly quickly without taking too much damage. In this first phase of the fight, he's pretty manageable. So after this, though, it does get a little more difficult, and I'll commentate on that after the cutscene. Oh, I skipped the cutscene. Okay, never mind. I watched it during the first fight, and then I died. So, in the second phase, his moveset changes, obviously. So, you're fighting kind of an evolved form of the boss. Basically, what you want to do here, though, is this is where you want to save your L2 attacks, which use up your FP. So, I don't level my FP at all. I have like 10 mine. But you are able to utilize basically 2 L2s for around 70 FP, which is what I have in my setup here. So you don't need a lot of FP. You don't need to level up your FP in order to beat this boss. You just need to have your your flasks set up so that you can recover your FP. So you can see I had like 10 of the FP recovering flasks. But I basically do 2 L2 attacks, which stun the boss. Each one stuns the boss here, so that it disrupts whatever attack he's getting into, and that prevents him from doing like his OP attacks that are like area of effect attacks that are really hard to dodge. But you just have to be aware of how many attacks you can do. So like I said, I can do 2 before my FP runs out, then I have to drink the flask, do another 2, drink the flask, etc., etc. And then again, if you have a phantom or 2 with you, or the mimic spirit ash, it speeds this fight up a lot because in addition to stunning him, somebody else can get in an extra hit, and it just takes the boss down that much quicker. Also, don't get caught in a corner, so make sure you run around and go back to an open space so that you're not kind of stuck where he's going to pin you down. So again, I ran out, need to always pay attention. He's summoning something right now or doing some kind of super OP attack, so again, the L2 will disrupt him. The regular R2s in this fight won't disrupt him, so you have to continuously do the L2 attack. And this makes this fight very, very easy. You can see here we're able to take him down fairly quickly without much disruption. Again, you can do this solo too. You just might need a little bit more FP, but in order to do enough of the L2 attacks to keep him disrupted from doing an OP attack. But I finished this boss fight and I have some flasks left over. So again, you have a lot of leeway here. If you have more FP, the fight becomes easier, becomes a lot more manageable to solo. But it's pretty straightforward nonetheless. So that is the boss fight, and I think I'm going to wrap up this video here. So again, thanks for watching. Hopefully this was helpful with a few tips on getting through this kind of quest of the story. And if you liked the video, drop a like on it and check out the channel for more Elden Ring content. Thanks for watching, guys. Quantum's out.